The recent changes that I made to this interface primarily are centered around making each of the modes a bit more discrete. If you go on factshift.com, and we can see that there's a lot going on. If I try to tab to a specific function, then it's possible for me to reach a lot of the functions that are available, but it's hard for me to know, for one, where my mouse is right now, where the tab index is, because I'm selecting buttons and I'm selecting nodes. There's a lot going on. I don't know how to, for example, just going through the hotkeys and the mode, it's not very obvious to me just looking at this interface that that there was focus on this element. So one of the things that I did here was I added something to outline things that have focus versus things that are focused. So it's a bit clearer where I'm tabbing. I can activate these functions as well. So just going through all of them, there's swoop mode, which allows me to add text. And parse it into nodes. There's color mode, which allows me to change the color of the nodes that I add. And also highlight the nodes that are of a specific color. There's reflex mode, which allows me to do the various reflexes that I've associated with this site. For example, adding nodes 1 per second, linking all of the nodes that have the same color, giving all of the relationships in the graph the same strength of 1, changing the color of all of the nodes, and removing nodes that are named node. There's node mode, which allows me to run various functions on the actual simulation. This is primarily meant so that you can add your own data here. There's map mode, which allows you to run various map functions. There's filter mode, which allows you to run various filter functions. There's query mode, which allows you to change the query parameters. I'm not going to do this one yet. There's debug mode, which allows you to see the parameters for the simulation. These aren't modes per se, but I'm displaying nodes only here. And here I'm displaying edges only. We go to reflex mode and bone. Did that do anything constructive? No. Why is that not doing anything constructive? Anyways, there are a few different functions here. And this stretch of changes was meant to make it easier to interact with them. So some of these don't actually work now. or they do with some caveats. The next thing to do would be to audit all of the functions that I have and then come up with some sort of strategy for iterating through these features, making them visible with Storybook, and testing them, unit testing the components, making sure that all of the features are accounted for, that it's documented what they're supposed to do, so people know how they're supposed to interact with this. But for the time being, I actually really like where we are with this. This looks a lot more cohesive compared to factshift.com, which has the currently deployed version on main. I think that's only 2 commits behind the refactor branch. And just for the sake of completion, I'm going to look at, there's an error, going to look at this on mobile. So right now this looks terrible on mobile, actual factshift.com. And this version, let's see, doesn't look as bad. It's possible to use this on mobile. There are some flaws, of course, but this isn't entirely broken, as it is with factshift.com. I would consider this to be unusable. So while I am refactoring, I think that I'm going to merge the refactor branch into main and then deploy that so I can use this as a discussion tool.